Hi everybody, it's Annette from the Art of Intuition, and today we are back in our normal background. No more outside glowing. And we're going to talk about how we show up and how we set the whole table for reality with how we show up. And I think I've done a couple videos on this topic, but it's become very clear to me lately how I was showing up in certain realities and how I was getting a match. Like I was showing up in a role that a human role, whether we're talking about a child and a parent, or we're talking about a husband and a wife, or we're talking about siblings, or you're talking about a grandmother and a grandchild, or, you're a mother figure or a father figure. It doesn't really matter the role. It matters how you're showing up and what aspect of you showing up. And what I noticed with myself was I kept going through reality and I was not enjoying it, but every once in a while, pretty much it was on clockwork, I would have to keep going through it. And it's kind of like you're in that Groundhog's Day, and that's how these things start to feel after a while, because you keep repeating the same shit and you don't know how to get out of it. So you almost start looking at any reality, any level, what's the word I'm looking for? Lever you can pull and just end the whole thing, and you're like, why do I keep getting here? Why do I have to keep doing it? What am I missing? And you almost start scouring every part of the reality to see what do I do? Do I not sit in that chair? Do I go sit in a different chair? All that kind of human stuff, like what can I do different? What do I need to go do that's going to shift this? And sometimes when I really get in my head about it, especially this one I have been in my head about for a long time, sometimes I'll pull tarot, and I was pulling tarot, and I kind of know if I look at something long enough, I'll understand my way of what it's saying. If I can't really get to it, when I'm clearing too, so I got a lot of fear clearing. And when I'm doing a lot of fear clearing, I can't enter into a reality, and I also can't see what I need to see. Sometimes I'll then go to something external to look it up. Because I kept pulling, because I have my own tarot card deck I did, and I kept pulling that same card, stop, you're going to recreate the same thing. If you keep expecting the same thing, you're going to recreate the reality. And I've done tons of videos on that, like how if we show up and expect the same thing, we're going to get the same thing. So I'm like, but I don't think I'm doing that, but I'm like, I must be, because I keep getting that card would almost fly out of the deck and hit me in the face every time I go to that deck. So I was like, okay, so I'm recreating the same thing. I was like, how am I doing it? Sometimes we have to be almost like conscious awareness archaeologists and really dig into these programs and see, okay, I'm creating it, because we're always creating it. What am I doing to create this? And what I started doing was picking different tarot cards. I went to a different deck, and I would pick me, and I would pick something like a high priestess, which is a very, elevated consciousness in the tarot deck, and then another card that was in just crying in her bedroom or on the floor, swords in them, all the kind of swords cards are the kind of cards that when you pull them in the tarot, you're like, oh shit, I don't want to see that card. That's like the Tower card. I don't want to see that. And I was starting to look at different cards, and then I pulled some of the other people in the reality, and I was noticing kind of the same pattern where there were higher aspects of these people, but I wasn't seeing that. I kept seeing these lower aspects because that's what they were bringing to the table, because that's what I was bringing to the table. If I'm bringing to a table, someone who feels like their life's a complete mess right now, then I'm going to get a match to that where they're going to go into their own, it's almost like if I come into the reality with a lot of lack and needy energy, then that's what they're going to do. They're going to go into lack and needy energy too. So I was looking at them, and I'm like, oh gosh, I always get these aspects of them. Oh, they're so unconscious. Bullshit. I'm unconscious. Every time I enter into this reality, I am going unconscious. And by doing that, by not being able to hold my highest, because I'm trying to play out the role I feel like they want me to play. If you've ever been in a certain situation with a person long enough, there are certain roles you'll go into. If you're with someone, if you're with a person that's always been they want to kind of control the reality, a lot of times you'll go small when you're in that reality with that person, because their role is to control it, or to be the knight in shining armor, or that's what they want to play, the father figure, the savior figure, whatever. So you'll find yourself going into these roles where you'll be like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna, I've got to be this role, or they're not going to want to participate in this reality with me because this is what they want to see. They want to see me acting this way. If not, they can leave the reality. So we have this fear that if we shift our role, we shift our consciousness, we shift how we show up, they might not be there. Now, there is a part of the reality where we have to look at it. Maybe they won't be there. That can happen. But what I have found normally is they'll shift too. But I had gotten so caught up in what I kept getting, and I kept showing up in this way that was not the highest version of me. I could do better. Even though it was a stressful situation and a tough situation for me, I knew I could do better. And it took me a while to realize this is all you. You know, look here, it was me. I was the one that kept creating such the reaction and such the stress and such the whole ball of fire in a sense, because I was not showing up as my highest aspect. I was not showing up as a high priestess energy in a sense. You know, I was showing up in something else. I was showing up in my human aspect, and a very old human aspect. So I had to really get real with what I was doing and what role I was playing, how I was creating the whole thing. You can look at it in any way you want to look at it. You can look at it like it's a play, and the minute you step into your role, you've now written all the roles for everybody else that's going to be in this reality with you. So they're just going to read off the cue card, you know, because there's so many different aspects of us. And if we look at someone and go, oh, they're unconscious, that's just the aspect I get. That's because I am. In that moment, I am, and that's what I'm getting from them. They have the capability of going to a different aspect. It might not be one they've embodied and one they can live from. That's a different story. That's a different video. But they have higher aspects. And I can get a different aspect of them, but I have to be a different aspect first. I cannot go into these realities and continue to not be I don't care how stressful it is. I don't care how much I want to jettison out of that reality. I don't care how much I want that shit to change. It can't change. I cannot close that reality out in these aspects that I'm in. I don't have the capability in those human aspects to close out a reality. That's why I keep looping around in it. Because I don't believe it. Maybe I don't believe it's possible. I don't see the next thing yet. So I don't know what to do. And it's just over and over and over again. You're just on that hamster wheel and you can't figure out, how do I get off? How do I stop recreating it? Am I going to get the same people? Now, there is a possibility you'll shift and they might still act the same way. You know, in my experience, that doesn't really happen. If I shift, they'll shift. They won't be able to hold it for a long period of time, but they will shift. They'll shift to match your aspect. So look at where you're coming from when you show up. It is going to depict the whole reality. It's going to write the whole scene. Trust me, it'll write the entire scene for you. And if you're having a hard time with the reality, last night I tried to clear a lot of it in my sleep state. So when I entered into it this morning, because I wanted to enter into it. My human wanted to do it last night, but I'm like, no, you're not ready. You can't see it all yet. Go to sleep, sleep on it. And in my sleep state, I was clearing a lot of really distorted parts of the reality. And I woke up with, oh my God, you know, this is going to be terrible. You know, my human's like, did you see what happened in your dream state? But I understood I was clearing all that energy out. So what I got today was was it perfect? Was I perfect? No. But it's a highly, highly stressful situation, but I was way better than I've been in this situation time and time again. And sometimes that starts to weigh on you too. It is like the movie Groundhogs Day, and the first couple of times he does it, he's still kind of calm and collected, but by the 18th or 19th time he enters into the reality, he's literally losing his shit. And that's almost how you feel when you go into it for like the 100th time. You're like, I'm about to lose my shit if I got to do this again. So holding your aspects, your highest aspects, when you were in a stressful situation, it is a mastery level indeed, my friend. So look at how you're showing up and be honest with yourself. We cannot look at someone else and go, oh, that's because of them. This is not the video we're going to talk about that. This is the video we're going to talk about, which all my videos really, it's all about us. It's always about me. It's always about what I'm showing up for, how I'm showing up. That person might just be able to match that higher aspect for 10 minutes of the conversation. They might go into a different aspect. And then it might be time for you to leave it at that point. But in those moments, they were able to hold it. Because you were holding it, and you were holding the whole situation to a different standard. Because you could see different aspects of them. Everyone has higher aspects of them. I didn't see it. And I kept saying, oh, they just don't have it. I'm like, no, it's because I'm not being it. So I'm not getting it from them. Sometimes you can even look, I mean, this is going to sound kind of woo-woo, but I'll look for their galactic names. So like, give me that aspect of them. What are their galactic names? And if I can start seeing someone's galactic name and understanding their galactic aspects, because we all have galactic names, that's a different video too, but it's kind of fun to figure out your galactic name. I knew that I could shift them to that if I showed up in my galactic aspect, which is a very powerful kind of no-nonsense, non-emotional aspect, because the galactic aspects are non-emotional. So when I'm in my galactic aspects, a lot of people take me as kind of cold and unfeeling. It's just how those aspects come across, because they do detach us from the human reality. So going into those aspects, when you're going into something that's very stressful, very emotional for you, call on your galactic aspects. You might not be able to hold it for long in the beginning. It's going to feel kind of weird. Call on those aspects and then enter into the situation. And don't enter in there until you can get there. And that's what I did for like 24 hours for sure, preparing, getting into that aspect. So, and trying to hold it. I said, if I can just hold it, because this was a really, a big reality I've been trying to align. So let me just hold it for this small period of time. Maybe it's just a 20-minute phone call. Let me hold this reality, hold this aspect. And when if it starts to go sideways and they start going into a different aspect, then I'll know that I did my best, but the reality can't continue. Because I can't now go into a lower aspect, a human aspect of me, and let the whole thing twist again and distort again. So it is a mastery skill, but it does get easier. But you have to be able to see it first. If you can't see what's going on, but there's something going on, because you keep having, if you're repeating it, there's something going on there. And if you keep doing it and you can't figure out what it is, you can't figure out what you got to do, take time and don't go back into the reality until you can figure it out. Okay. Keep practicing the art of intuition.